The question I'd like to engage with today and encourage you to think about is what do you want to be able to show for the time? Quick disclaimer that my wrong mic picked up today, so I sound like I'm in a fish tank. The video is only a few minutes long. I'm making these daily, and anyone here for production values instead of a message is in the wrong place. Let's get right back to it. And this has been a central part of my kind of approach to my life for many, many, many years. So much so it's almost in my background of just assumed. But so many people I meet when I find they're new to Gamketo Club, when I find they're new to making games, I find that a useful filter to share, and so I want to share it here. And this is something where eventually where you want to go with it is thinking longer term in terms of, all right, 5 years are going to pass, a year is going to pass. What do I want to be able to show for that time? About things I've made, things I've done, changes and improvements to who I am, my capabilities, my demonstrated abilities, training I've undergone. How do I want to be different at the end of this? What do I want to be able to show for it? And granted, before you're dealing with 5 year or 1 year increments, you want to be starting much, much smaller. Before even dealing with weeks or a week, I would encourage first thinking about getting practice at doing this for the day. You know, the day's going to pass whether you're doing something or not. What do you want to be able to show for that day having passed? And consequently, of course, it can be appropriately much smaller. It could be a personal, private-facing log entry that no one else but you is going to read, right? We're not talking blogging, we're talking straight-up old-fashioned journaling. Use a pen if you have to. It might be something like, okay, well, by the time I go to bed tonight, I'd like my Trello in which I squirrel away all my random thoughts. I want to have it reorganized. I just did that yesterday. It feels great because I pile up all these little notes and cards and things. And so it applies to Indicate or IGDA or Gamketo or YouTube videos or podcast or life in general. But until I take a moment and I make my day's goal, I'm going to get that Trello in order. Well, it's not useful to me. But as soon as I start grouping and chunking and rearranging and prioritizing, identifying, here are the most actionable ones. Here's the ones I can take on tomorrow. Here's the ones I can be done with by the end of the week. It's not any good. But it starts with a day's task of what I want to show for this day is an organized Trello. And again, that means show to myself. Right? It's only on the bigger time frames where it comes down to what I want to be able to show the outside world. And that's where I want to show them my online course that's had a lot of people take it. That's where I want to show them games we've been producing from our club as evidence of our approach works for a variety of people all over the globe. Whatever it is you're trying to work on, there's going to be things that first you want to show yourself internally, and on a larger time scale, you want to move towards that I can show the outside world. Potential employers, recruiters, interviewers, family members, potential life partners, potential friends for that matter. These can be things. They don't have to all be career. They don't have to all be, hireable skills. They very much can be, I don't know, finding the pride of I want to be able to show people I know how to juggle. And that I love that one because basically anybody can set their mind to it, practice, and at some point be able to juggle decently. And some people have put the time and energy into learning that. Some people haven't. Many of us are in some sort of gray area of like, at some point, maybe could a little bit, haven't practiced it. But it's another example of what I want to be able to show for that time because the time is going to pass regardless. And part of why this question is so important to think about and grapple with. Sorry, voice still getting over some of the GDC grossness. Doesn't hurt to talk, just don't sound normal. But it's part of why it's so important to dial in on this. It's because otherwise what tends to happen by default is one of two things. One, the time passes, whether it's a week, whether it's a day, whether it's months, whether it's years, a decade, and we have nothing to show for it. And it feels like a missed opportunity. And again, it's not, I can't stress enough, this is not about just monetizing your hobbies. This is not about just everything's got to be a business and everything's got to be ROI. This can be legitimately, I want to have produced a song because I feel like it. I want to have made paintings because I care to paint. I want to have learned how to dance because that just feels like it'll be satisfying to my soul. It doesn't have to be things the outside world wants to see from you, right? I do these daily YouTube videos in part for myself. That's part of what I have to show for the time. So it can be that, but you want to make sure the time doesn't pass with nothing to show for it. Or more commonly what ends up happening is someone else can show something for the time that's not you. And this is where if we're not careful, if we over-identify with our jobs, with the work we do, with the research we do as graduate students or some other context, what ends up happening is we become, and we can still feel good about it, still take pride in it, but we become essentially kind of a foot soldier following orders as part of someone else's bigger thing of what they're going to be able to show for their time. And we can always point back and say we were part of it, and it's not a bad thing to do and take pride in. But it was probably not something that you directed, that you chose, that really was unique to you and who you want to become and who you want to be. And so even if you have one of those kind of opportunities or projects going on of a big grand thing you're a piece of, whether game studio, some other line of work. Obviously, I'm always out there banging the drum for whether it's hobbies, recreation, self-enrichment, finding and making sure that are you going to be able to personally still show things for the time that passed and not just, oh, actually, I was at this huge company when we managed that merger, and we can take pride in that, but it's not quite the same, right, as here's some skills I picked up that I can show you. Here's things I've released. Here's stuff that I made. Here's projects that are released I was a part of. Of course, part of the kind of thing focused on again, keto. Being able to differentiate and show quantifiably how much even like our club has improved one quarter to the next is the kind of things that come from setting these kind of goals of what do I want to be able to show from the time. If I wasn't just treading water, I wasn't just in constant maintenance mode, I wasn't just breaking even and then chilling out. I was figuring out how do I keep growing? How do I keep adding things to the pile of things I take pride in? How do I continue to expand myself as a person, my perspectives, my community, my reach, my, whatever it is that's important to you, figuring that out. And maybe that could be one of the first kind of tasks. Figure out what is important to you. What would you want these kind of things to be about? That can be a day goal, right? That doesn't have to be grand. That can be a very narrow thing of what do you want to be able to show? What would that even be related to? Why would you want to show things? Because your answer is not going to be the same as my answer, and I respect that, and that's part of why it's an open question. So I want to engage with that today, put that out there in the universe, welcome you to think about it, noodle on it is the expression I like to use. But yeah, have another video for y'all soon. Thanks for tuning in. Figure out what you want to make today, or this week, or, and I say make, figure out what you want to be able to show for the time, because the time's going to pass anyway.